World Affairs correspondent for Redbeard Pirate Radio. The underground revolution in art starts right now on Redbeard Pirate Radio. Today I want to talk about the war at the top of the world. Oh yes, there is one, and it's not at Santa Claus's North Pole factory where the elves have risen up against a heartless taskmaster. No, I'd like to talk today about something a little lower down latitudinally, and in this case, the conflict going on between India and China. India and China are at war. They call it a border conflict. Okay. But when men of different nations are wearing their national army garb and they're shooting at one another and they're dying, that constitutes warfare. You can spin it any way you want, you liars. That's a war. Okay, so with that out of the way, I'd like to talk about this war at the top of the world and what it means for us. The great god of physics, and I mean it because people worship him. If you say anything bad about them, they get angry and they walk away. So they worship this guy. Einstein was once asked if the next world would be fought with nuclear devices, back in 45 or something, when that was a big deal. And he said, I don't know what the next war is going to be fought with, but the one after that is going to be fought with sticks and stones. And that applies directly to what's happening at the roof of the world today between India and China, because it is so cold and the air is so thin that men can't maneuver properly. They don't exist well. And neither China nor India is well known for providing oxygen gear to large numbers of troops. That's hugely expensive. That's a USA level of expense, and I don't see us doing it either. So, well, except for pilots. So what we have here is we have organized military forces from both the PRC, Chinese People's Republic, and also India, which is one of the great sovereign nations at this time, though it was for years England's bitch, and England deserves to rot in hell for it, but what are you going to do? All the people that did that are dead. You can't grab anybody and shake them anymore. So, let's see. So what we have is an environment that's, the air is so thin that the men can't function well, and an environment so cold that the men can't function well, and an environment so cold that the grease in the guns freezes and your rifle doesn't work. Your automatic becomes a single shot and you have to manually eject. Your cannons don't want to fire. You can't open the breeches. Your tanks won't start. Now, that's what I'm talking about. We're up at a level of altitude where a tank has to use the same supercharger effect that an aircraft has to use, a propeller aircraft, an internal combustion engine, to be able to operate at altitude. You have to force a lot of that very thin air into a very small space to run your engine, or else it's not going to run. Internal combustion requires oxidation. Oxygen is derived in most internal combustion engines from the air around it. And up there, you have, I don't know what it is, it's half the air pressure up at 20,000 feet plus. And so what we have here is we have the Chinese and the Indians are mobbing each other and using sticks and stones and hand grenades to kill one another at the top of the world. Now, I'm sure both nations either hide this from their people or recommend it as a positive step in state versus state diplomacy, or that this is a righteous move that must be taken because we have the mandate of heaven and it declares that we have, as the American would say, a manifest destiny. So, so men are killing each other and the corpses are freezing before they can be dragged off the battlefield. And they're suffocating because there's not enough air. And their gear is all breaking down. And neither China nor India can afford a great deal of replacement gear. They are, like Russia and like we are, in case you don't know, operating on a shoestring with the whole system about to collapse. It's very delicately balanced. That's why I fear certain kinds of new weapons, where an individual cannon round for the Bofors 57 millimeter light shipping and anti-shipping gun that the Navy is considering buying quite a few of. The practice round for it costs over $10,000, and it fires 180 rounds a minute. Let me say that again. The practice round for it costs $15,000, and the gun fires 180 rounds a minute. And since we're buying 300 of them, we have to train 300 crews how to operate them. And you know how you do that, don't you? By firing practice rounds, $15,000 a piece, 180 a minute. So when I say that the whole military face-off that the world has is inches away from collapsing all the world economies, I'm not wrong. However, at this point it's balanced. But that balance says that neither India nor China can afford to continuously replace anything in their military arsenal except men. They're very good at producing men. So when a rifle becomes more precious than a man, and a tank becomes more precious than a man, that's an existential crisis for men. The machines have already won. There will be no Terminator takeover. We have already been judged wanting against guns and bombs. What does that make us worth? So anyway, neither China or India have any reason at all to be up in that part of the world. Zero. Ask them. Ask them, what material gain do you have from fighting at the top of the world in air that no man can live in, not for any length of time, in cold that no machine can operate in, except a spacecraft? My conclusion is nothing. Words like national prestige mean nothing, because the grassroots people pulling together and making the world a better place is what means something. Oh yeah, federal rhetoric is empty unless there's action. I'm not very big on propaganda because I'm the son of an advertiser, and I've watched the word and the image twisted and turned, all for the best purpose, profit, but without ethic, without moral, without any guidepost that seeks to treat people with respect. So, when a government starts to complain that it needs to attack another nation, I'm going to look further right at India and China, who are fighting a war, choking each other to death on the ground because no weapon works, no vehicle runs. And for what? A national narrative. There can be no other reason. There's no resource that can be mined up there. You won't gain anything. Wild Bill for Redbeard Pirate Radio. So for more in-depth, piercing, biting, political and pseudo-political commentary, tune in to Redbeard Pirate Radio almost daily here on the station.